Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Coach's Corner podcast here, presented by On Track College Advising. I am your host, Ryan Moore, and today we are blessed to have Coach Luke Gore from Princeton with us, Princeton basketball. Luke, thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate you taking the time.
It's great to be here. And, me and Ryan, we've known each other for a long, long time. So it's good to be on
Absolutely.
here and catching up.
Absolutely. So, yeah, honestly, I have known you for a pretty long time personally, but for those that might not be familiar with you, can you share a little bit about your playing career and your journey to coaching?
Yeah, so played NAIA basketball at Cumberland and then Bethel, both in Tennessee. And then from there, some of the best relationships I have in life are from those days. Still my best friend, some of my best friends, and my wife in college. So, amazing time in college. Went on from there to do an internship in rec sports, trying to get in basketball at Notre Dame. And from there, I took an internship at Valpo as in rec sports, but then as a voluntary assistant with the men's basketball staff, and stayed there for 21 years. Moved up after that first year, I was full-time assistant, which I think I was 24 at the time, which I think I was the youngest full-time Division I assistant in the country at the time, and just had a lot of success at Valpo and a lot of good times there, and moved on, and then went from there to a brief stay in Wichita State, and then to Princeton. So going on year 3 at Princeton. It's being able to be with the quality of individuals that I get to be around here at Princeton is amazing. Mitch Henderson's one of the best coaches in the country at the number one school in the country. So it's pretty cool. And so put that on top of all my experiences at Valpo and all the great people I got to work with there. I feel very, very, very fortunate and blessed.
You've worked with some really high profile coaches along the way. What role have those guys had in helping make you the coach that you are today?
Ooh, it would be a very long podcast if I went through everything, but I'll start off. You know, in college, I had a couple coaches that really made a big impact. That one was Cal Luther, and he's a Hall of Fame coach from Murray State. He was at UT Martin, he was at Longwood, but then when he retired from UT Martin, we were without a coach at Bethel, and he he coached us for a year, and he in that year he had a huge impact. The year before that, I had a coach, Mike Neighbor, who's now at Delta State. He was at Christian Brothers. Phenomenal coach. They were very different coaches, but those were the two that really impacted me getting into coaching. A lot of my life, I thought I was going to be an engineer or going, something with the math route. But those two really influenced me to get into coaching. And then my first coach that I had at Valpo was Scott Drew, and Scott Drew is good at everything, and not to say he doesn't have his flaws like everyone does, but he's just very intentional about everything he does, and he does it at a high level. That was my son. Sorry about that, guys.
That'd be good.
So um, and so Scott is he taught me a lot of things, and one was he said his best year recruiting, he never left the office. And as a young coach, you're like, I gotta get on the road, I gotta go check all these guys out. But so that was right off the bat is something that sticks with me all the time. And then the next is like, try to be the best assistant that a head coach has ever had. He's like, my goal as an assistant to his dad, Homer, was I'm going to try to be the best assistant to him, and focus on that, and everything else will take care of itself. So those were two things, so many things Scott taught me, but those were two things that he taught me that was, just stuck with me. Then I got to work with Homer after that. Scott left and went to Baylor, where he went on to win a national championship and do great things. And I stayed back at Valpo and was an assistant for Homer Drew. And in that time, it was just like family, take care of people, be true to people, be honest, be intentional with everything you do. And that's just a few things that he did. He's Hall of Fame coach, amazing individual, but you know, do those things, do it to the best ability. And at the same time, I was trying to take Scott's ability. I'm going to be Homer's best assistant he's ever had. So Scott was an assistant. I'm going to be better than Scott Drew as an assistant, was my mindset all the time. And then when Homer retired and Bryce took over, Bryce is very detail oriented, extreme defensive coach, good offensive coach too. But we're going to be good at a few things and really good at a few things, and not clouded up with a lot of things. And efficiency, toughness, and being. And we were assistants together for a long time, so that was amazing. And then you know you know then my last stint at Valpo was mathematic, and it was good. We were trying to grow our program into a new era at Valpo. We won the league our first year. Then we moved to Missouri Valley in year three, went to the championship game, and then dealt with COVID and the things that came up with that. And we did some things that we could have done better, and you learn from those and move on. And we had some really good players. We had Ben Cricky on our last year there, his first team all league, and we had some of the best recruiting teams classes that I've got was in those years. And the Valley at that time was really, really tough. Players stayed at that time too. So it was the really good players, and they'd stay for multiple years. Now every team's built with a new roster every year almost, unless if your culture is really good, you don't lose every player. You're still going to lose half your roster, but you're going to have half of it to stay. And you can see that with the teams in the Valley that have sustained success. It seems like they keep the core of four or five guys, and they might not be the best players, but they can keep that core going. And then Mitch Henderson is here at Princeton, learned so much in 2 years, and I've known him for a long time. I've known him for 20 years in coaching, and as friends, and now I get to see it. And simplicity in details and effort and is off the chart. And the way he communicates to the team on what is expected and how we're going to win, and let's not clog it up with a bunch of other things. This is how we're going to do it, and who we're going to recruit and how we're going to recruit them is very detailed and very winning. Like winning counts in everything you do, and winning attitude and characteristics are going to overcome some other things. So make sure that everyone we recruit and how we coach them, it's to win the game, to win life, to win the day, to win class, and we don't need to monopolize all their time in order to do that. We can't. We're at the number one school in the country. I mean, they're going to be in class, they're going to be in school, and they're going to have all the resources to be extremely successful. And we need to allow them to use those resources while coming down and getting after it and having a lot of fun and learning how to win on the basketball court.
It's awesome. So Simon Sinek is a pretty big name in the business world, but he's famous for asking people to define their why. So I'd
Hmm.
love to know your why, and then really just what gets you up every day and gets you excited about coaching at this point in your career.
Man, well, I truly am excited every day that I get to do what I do, and almost I don't dislike any aspect really of it. I don't like losing. Okay, that's probably the aspect I don't like the most.
That
But
drives
I
winning
like,
conversation.
yeah. Well, but I do like the overcoming after losing. I love the building on adversity. I love those type of things. I've always been a competitive person, and I've always felt that I was supposed to win things, and if I wasn't to the level to win, I always felt I prepared as much or more than the next guy in order to win. And so my why is I love the preparation of trying to win and trying to be the best I can each day, and then being able to be around amazing. And this is, I think, why you coach college, other levels of like instead of professional levels, because you get to be around 18 to 22-year olds that are at such an impactful age, and they keep you young. I mean, I hope they're keeping me young, and you get to evolve with them in such an important time in their lives. And so that's really a big why. And then it gets to the point now is like, what would you do other than coach? Well, I have a 10 and a 13-year-old, and I can't think of anything better a dad can do than have that 10 and 13-year-old being around the quality of young men and women. Very fortunate that I know the women's staff, and a lot of the administrators are women, and people that my daughter can be around and my son can be around. But I can't think of anything better for them to do or be around than those individuals each and every day, or when they can come to the gym. It would be each and every day if it was up to them. So that those were some of the whys. I think the biggest why is, you know, I just I love the aspect of preparing to win at recruiting, preparing to win at games. A lot of people catch me after games, and I'm not a big celebrator. I'm kind of excited to prepare to win the next one, and or after practice, all right, that's good. Now my mind's going on to what we need to do better in that practice, the next practice, and how can we prepare for the next practice. And so I really like that aspect of it, and it's in the off season, I like listening to podcasts and watching film, just preparing to try to evolve. So I would guess that I don't know if that's a good why, but that's probably the why. Family gets to be around me a lot and get to see what I mean. I don't know about you, Ryan, but I don't know what your dad did, but my dad was a tool and die maker, and I went to probably his office twice my whole life. If my kids don't see me twice at the gym in a week, and then it's a slow week. And so I really think that's pretty cool. And I get to, in recruiting, you get to, everybody's like, hey, you missed that recruiting. I was like, well, not, yeah, I think they're going to be great. But I got to meet the family, and I got to interact and meet an amazing family and, and individuals, and hopefully they're successful, wherever they go. But I got to meet them, and that was pretty cool. And then, some of the guys I've got to coach have been amazing and recruited. And it's, yeah, I wouldn't trade it.
What do you hope your players take away from the time that they got to spend with you beyond the wins and losses?
Right. Show up every day, and show up with a passion and an intensity about yourself. And when you're not doing that, know that, Coach Gore might not have always talked about being a great husband, but he was. You could see it. His kids showed up. And even though at times he might be frustrated with what they're doing, he always had them show up. And so use my actions to influence, that they can, it's pretty awesome to be married. It's pretty awesome to be a father, and you can do those two things and show up with a lot of energy and passion and pour it into whatever you do. Coaching's not for everybody. As much as I like coaching, the next person could dislike it just as much, and that's fine. I'm not saying I do the perfect profession. I do the profession that's right for me, and the one that is my why. And so that allows me to focus on the things that are really important to me. And so that's what I would want him to do. Is like, hey, this is the guy that he died to his wife, he died to his savior, he died to his kids, and he also died to this team. But not it wasn't one way or the other. His personal life didn't get diminished because he put everything into basketball. And so that's I hope the players, and I think more young men need to see fathers, and they need to be around fathers, and they need to see fathers that discipline their kids. They get frustrated with their kids, that don't know what to do with their kids sometimes, but they try, and they're always trying. And I think that's the biggest thing a father can do. And that's something that I would love the players to come back. Because I mean, Coach Gore was intense. He was after it. He was creative mind. He had fun. But then when he wasn't, he tried his hardest to be the best dad and father he could be.
Great answer. Hey, so Princeton is different than some of the places that you've coached in the past. So what is it that drew you there to work with the Tigers?
Well, first and foremost, my relationship with Mitch Henderson, and it was when he reached out to me and recruited me, in a way. Now he didn't have to really recruit very much, but when he reached out to me and asked if I was interested, I've known him for so long. I have so much respect for him, and how he does things, and I'd watched him, and we'd bounced ideas off each other, offensive to defensive ideas, for a long time. And it was an easy decision that, let's remove the idea that it is the number one school in the country. It wins the most in its league. It's got a huge tradition, you know and then once you get here, you realize why Princeton wins. And we don't just win at basketball. Princeton wins at all sports. I mean they're good at, they dominate the track and field. The men's track and field team and the women's, now they dominate that. um And it's because Princeton invests in they invest in people to win. They invest in what people need to win. And so that was evident after, Mitch first reached out to me, and talking to John Mack, our athletic director, is tremendous. And so, um, we're going to back you up to win, to help you win, give you what you need to win, and your team and your program to win. And then the school, Princeton is roughly 5,200 undergrads, 1,300 freshmen get in each year, and that's the number. It's not high or low; it's 1,300 basically, 1,300 spots to get in. And so about 17% of the student body, we have about 1,000 athletes. So 17% of the student body are also athletic or athletes. So there's a great mixture on campus. And I know you went to a small school where a lot of the student body were athletes, and it was the same as what I did. And I think you mix that in with amazing people that are really focused at other things, and whether it's music or art or even chemistry and engineering and architecture and all those things, and you put them together where they're not just there to be students, then you have a student body that's just dynamic. And it's not just because of the athletes, it's because of how everyone supports each other, being the best they can be. And I think that's the epitome of Princeton. And it's not like everybody comes in having it all figured out. They might think it, but everyone's really good at what they do, and what they are really good at you might not know anything about. And Princeton encourage you to find out about, the next person, what they're really good at. And so it was evident right off the bat. It's like this is the place. I mean, you got to be. The Ivy League as a league is I think the last true college basketball league, or especially in basketball. And each team will lose a guy here and there, but for the most part, you have great rivalries. You have guys coming back. They come to school to be in school and to be great at life and be great at basketball. I mean, NBA players come out of the Ivy League all the time, or come out of the Ivy League, not all the time, but they come out of the Ivy League. Professional players come out of the Ivy League all the time. And then CEOs of companies and guys that, big time doctors, lawyers, all the professions you can think of, because no one's telling them they can't do something, like, no, you're going to be great at academics too. So it's really cool.
Everything's got a different set of rules when it comes to scholarships and admissions. So, how does that impact your recruiting strategy?
It's drastically different. It's good. We don't have scholarships. We can offer spots into school, and that's not a guaranteed by any means. You still have to be an amazing student, and not just A's and B, and not just A's and high test score, but you have to have substance in what you're doing, and and so you have to be able to get in. And then, there's 1,300 spots that come into Princeton each year, and every Ivy League is different on how many spots. We have one of the lowest student bodies, lowest number of students, so we have less spots.
Yeah.
But that's part of it. So we have to not only identify high level basketball players with high level character that will be successful in the Princeton environment, both on and off the court, but then they have to have the grades to be able to get in. And then what by coming to Princeton, you're coming to a place that only 3% get in, and 3 to 4%. It changes on just on how many people apply each year. And we have reunions every year that 25 to 30,000 alums show up every year to hang out with each other. And so I think we have one of the best, not the largest, but I think we have the best alumni network in all of college. And so then, the median salary, halfway through your career is like the highest. So we have to find guys that are not just looking for the quick payday or the quick thing that's out there in college right now, but they want sustained success throughout their career. They want to have a network that carries them. They want to have a true college experience for 4 years, and they know that whether they're that first round draft pick or they don't get drafted, they're making, and you hear it all the time, but it's legit when you're talking to Princeton. It's a 40-year investment. And and so and and Princeton just came out with, our numbers for aid, which, a lot of non-basketball, like a lot of people don't know this in Division I athletes. You got basketball, you got football, you got other sports that have a lot of scholarships, but there's a lot of sports that don't have as many scholarships, and so you have to do aid aid-based packages. And Ryan, you know about this when your time, and that's not a bad thing. It's It's just you have to find out what works. And Princeton has the best aid package in the country. And so if you can get into Princeton, you can afford Princeton. And they purely admit on merit and how good you are at everything. It's once again, it's this, there's 4.0 36 ACT guys that don't get into Princeton, but but they might not have as much substance in their essays and other things. And then there's others that have maybe a little bit lower that have great substance and they can offer a lot to the student body. And that's what Princeton's always looking for. So as recruiters, that's what we're looking for. And and we got to find families that value that and individuals that value that. And once you find them there, you know, if a Princeton recruiter comes to my son and says, "Hey, we want him," I'm telling him he's going no matter what. Like, yes, like that's not a hard decision. Now that I've witnessed it too, it's let's start life at a really, really high level at 18, and let's do that. And Princeton, let's offer that. So but that's not for everybody. So we have to find the people, the individuals that's ready for families that's for. And when you do, they dominate everything. It's great.
You find that you guys compete for a lot of the same players as other Ivy League schools, or is the competition for those players more broad?
No, no, no. Because we're all looking for a similar thing, and so there is competition in the Ivy League, and some teams compete more against the other than others. And then we also compete against the other really high academic schools across the country, and so it's because we can't we have you have to have the academic piece. And so if you don't have it, then we can't recruit you. So going to the gym, I'd like to say everybody's really working hard and has the support they need at home to be able to be 3.7 and 8 students. And we can look at all the players in the gym, but the reality is that it might be 5% that we can look at. And of that 5%, 5% of those guys are actually good enough to play. So it's not many guys when I walk in the gym of couple thousand athletes that we can even look at.
Along those same lines, beyond the physical and like the athletic measurables, what are the qualities of a Princeton staff is looking for in a recruit, like the intangibles?
That's great. And I'm glad you put it like that because it's, the athleticism and the size and the length and your basketball ability, you have to have that. If you don't, then we don't get to talk about it. So I'm glad you put that out there because let's eliminate that aspect. You have to be really good at basketball. And then you have to have really good grades and you have to really challenge yourself in the classroom and take in really good classes through 4 years of college, high school. And so let's say you've done both of those, and now what are we looking for? It's high character of winning and on to the next play mentality. And is it a guy that complains to not? It's okay to. We want loud players. We don't want them to be loud we don't want whining players. We don't want them to whine that their teammate did something wrong. We don't want whining that the referee is against them or they don't pay attention to their coach. It doesn't matter if their coach is drawing up a play that's good, bad, and different. Are they locked in on that? Are they locked in on the betterment of their team? And you hear this from a lot of coaches, but we literally break down everything that goes on in a game. Whether you make a pass, whether you make a cut, whether you defend the ball well, bad, indifferent. Everyone sends out their highlights, and highlights get our attention. And let's not have your first highlight if you're a basketball player be you shooting a free throw. I mean, we would hope that you can make a free throw. And if you can't, that's hopefully you can get better at it. But it's the highlights get our RT, but then we make our own highlight. And if in every time you react to a call or you're coaching or you miss a shot and you're the last one back on as the video comes, you're the last one back on the screen, and that happens consistently then we've got to eliminate you quickly. I mean, we're done. And if every time it's someone else's fault, we've got to eliminate you. And we have the beauty that we really are recruiting to the number one school in the country, and then we win all the time. And so there's a lot of guys that are dying to come to Princeton, and that's where they want to be their whole life. Their family has wanted them to come to Princeton, so it's easy to cut guys on not making winning plays. The next thing is communication um, with the recruiter. Um, if it's hard for you to send me your transcript, or if it takes a day or two, then you're not somebody getting things done. And so it's it's a lot easier to recruit guys that are, when you ask them to do something, they do it, and they do it as quickly as possible. And if they can't do it that day or within that hour or something, they give you an explanation why, and they get it to you as quick as possible. And then they don't recruit me. They just do what they're told, and then they're really good basketball players. And not, not begging me, hey, coach, what else do you need? Like, no, do what you're told, be available, show up, do the best you can. And when I need your senior class schedule, oh, why do you need that? No, don't ask why. Just send me your senior class schedule. The first thing I'll ask for is your transcript. And I need to know what your parents think about the financial aid and how it works for them. And if it takes weeks on end, now financial aid does take some time, but if it takes forever, or if and I don't want guys that are attached to their phone where they respond to everything right away. I'm not saying that. I'm saying if I ask you on a Monday, can I get your transcript? I should be, by end of day, be able to get your transcript, and at the latest by the next day. Maybe you got the message at the end of school, you're going back the next day, and the first thing you do is get it done. So those are little things when you're not playing that you can do. And if it's a school you love, you know, show it, show
Sure.
something, show up on camp. Like, you want to come on a unofficial visit, but you live in Florida. If you really want to go to that school, if you really want to come to Princeton, you show up. Yeah, we're coming. And when can we come? And it's not like, I got this and this. Now you make it work, because everything you're doing to make us call you is so we call you. And now you're like, I got this practice, this thing. No, no, everything you've been doing is to come to campus at Princeton or whatever school's calling you. Show up as quick as possible, because there's someone else that is showing up. And if you show up a week later and we only have two spots,
And somebody
and
else
two
get
people
that
showed up
spot.
that week, and they won it, then you lose out. And maybe you're a better player, or maybe, but they showed up. And if you can't give reasoning why, and make it work. And so that would be, you know, what I would say on that.
So over the past couple of years, we know the transfer portal and NIL have really changed how basketball recruiting takes place. I mean, you referenced it earlier that there are programs that are going to go through it every year where they're losing half their roster, maybe even more. How has that affected the staff at Princeton? And then how have you guys adapted to that landscape?
Well, you can't ignore it, and you have to know what's out there. And we've lost a couple guys, but what we've talked about it already. How you is you recruit really well. You recruit high character guys. Not that they might not leave, but when someone leaves, well, you have really good players on your team. Now, we don't take transfers at Princeton. So when we lose a guy, we can't. The only thing that can replace him is a freshman or a guy that's currently on the team that might not have played last year. And so we're going to invest in our guys that are not on the court just as much as the guys playing in the game. And I do believe, like, if you have if you really have big goals in life, then you come to Princeton, you're not leaving. Like, no matter what opportunity. Now, if you can go to the NBA, you're going to go, and then you can still come back and get your degree. That makes a lot of sense to me. Now, what I think is not what everyone thinks. And that's okay. But it's state, you just that's how we do it. We have to be so strong internally. And so when we play that game, and we happen to lose a player at the end of the year that we didn't want to lose. And now we haven't lost many. We lost a few um this year. But we haven't lost many over the course of time. That we had guys on the bench that we know in practice that the margin was not that much. And so we just, as the how do we prepare, how do we deal with it, is we really try to recruit the best freshmen as we can that fit us, that want to work, that want to be great. And then we coach them, whether they're in the game or not. And so if we happen to lose somebody, that, they're ready. And
Next man up mentality.
yeah, yeah. And everyone's important. Like, the guy on the scout team is just as valuable as the guy scoring 15 points a game. Um, and the fans might not realize that, But in that, and then when we play in that game, the scout team guy got that guy ready, and then that guy performed, and then that guy graduated, and then the scout team guy is the next guy doing it. And everyone has different roles, and not everybody's going to score 15 points a game ever in their career. Most guys won't ever score 10 points a game in their career, and that's okay. But we're going to invest in everybody on the team, and that's so no matter what comes at you, and that we're ready. And because we, once again, and this is not an Ivy League thing as much as the Princeton thing. We don't take transfers, and so no matter what happens, if we lose, we lose a first team all league guy for a lot of money, then we got to have guys that we think can step in and help us win. Not the same way that guy did, but in their own way and in Princeton way.
It's interesting. I didn't know that you guys wouldn't take transfers. So my thought, I was going to ask some questions about the portal and whether you thought that was like a positive or a negative thing when it comes to recruiting, but it doesn't make a difference to you if that's the case. So, but from a
Well, I've dealt
recruit's
with the porter a
perspective,
lot. Yeah, I mean, you can. I mean, I've dealt with the porter so much, and there's a time for the portal that I think is very, very needed, and there's a time that it's just an easy scapegoat, and we're not teaching responsibility and commitment and those things. And other times, there's times that yeah, you might need to find a different school. I'm not. I did it. I transferred. I mean, it's so. When you leave every year, sometimes it's like it's not the other guys. It's you.
sure.
Like I mean, you got to look in the mirror.
Yeah.
What's changed in the last 4 years? Well, you've changed every year. So let's think about is that an employee that I won? Is that someone that I think can help us win all the time? And there's outstanding events that happen. I had a different college coach every year in college, every single year. And that it wasn't, I mean, it's just how it worked. And but my relationships with my guys that I played with are so strong, and I love those guys. And I wouldn't have them if I transferred every year. I wouldn't have those relationships, and so you're missing out on.
From a recruit's perspective, what does the process look like at Princeton? I mean, can you walk me through some of that and then share what like an unofficial or official visit might look like for students that are looking to come to Princeton?
Yeah, so the process starts when you start school, as in high school. Get all A's and take the hardest classes. And if those classes are really tough, then the hardest classes you can take and get A's. And if you need tutoring, just like if you can't make a free throw and you need extra shooting practice, get tutoring and help yourself get an A. And if you get a B, make it a B plus. Like it's everything at the highest level. So as a freshman, that's important. And so if there's any seventh and eighth graders out there, start right now. Like I want to take the toughest classes and I need to make A's. And if I can't make an A with what I'm doing currently, I need to find more that I can do to make A's. In the summer, I need to get tutoring so the next year I can make A's in classes. And so that's the first thing that they have to do. And then the next thing is sustain that, and then be a good basketball player. And then what usually will start noticing you your junior year. Our recruiting classes are usually done each year by September. And so our deadline for admissions is January 1st. Early admissions is before that. And so a lot of times in September, our whole class is completed before they've ever played a senior year game. And so that's early compared to other schools in the country. But in the Ivy League, that's kind of how you have to do it a lot. And we're bringing in, 3, 4, 5 guys a year. And so you want to be one of those 3, 4, 5 guys. And that's just the way we go about it. So then, like I said earlier, we like to ask guys to come on unofficial visits in the in the summer before in May and June. There's some dead periods in there, but when it's not dead, in May and June to come to campus, and then we're gonna show you around. We're gonna try to get to know you and let you get to know us. Hopefully, our players are around. If we can get you in before our players leave for summer, that's great. And we're really evaluating your character and how you speak and how you stand up for yourself. And are you opening the door for your mom, or is your mom out, out on her own doing things? Are you respectful to your family? Are you respectful to the process? And so it's not just because you got invited for an unofficial visit that you're in. Like, no, that's a huge evaluation for us to figure out. if you fit. And then that summer we really dive into watching them, and that's when decisions are kind of made. In that summer, we identify before that summer. So your junior year is a big year at high school. We get out there and see you. And sometimes sophomore year, we know of guys out there, but we don't do. We just evaluate them from afar usually, and then so that's the process. And then official visits is a lot of times it's the last thing, and a lot of times our guys are committed already, and it's a celebration of coming to Princeton and really getting to know the team and your classmates. And we're currently recruiting the class of 2030, and and someday you're going to wear a black sweatshirt that says 2030 in orange on it, and that's a big deal. And we want you to be really close with your classmates, and those official visit weekends or weekend, and depending on how we do it, is a big weekend. So that's a quick rundown of our timetable.
So, is there one thing that you love that you want to make sure that those recruits and their families experience when they're on a visit that might not be on that typical campus tour?
Um, to understand how we coach and how we speak to players, and how that we're direct, we're honest, and we're also there for them. And so that's probably the biggest. And that we love the place we work, and our players love being there. And I don't want you just to meet freshmen. I want you to come in and meet seniors. They've been here for 3 years and they're going in their fourth year, and they can tell you everything about Princeton if that can happen. So that sells itself to us. And then really how we speak and how we coach and how we're going to try to win games, and how that recruit's going to be part of that.
What's the academic index, and can you explain why that's a thing at the Ivy League schools and how you
Yeah,
guys
yeah.
use it, maybe?
Yeah, so it's just a combination of everything you do academically, and it gives you a number. And every school has a different number. Every school does not tell their number. It's top secret stuff. But the higher the number you have, the better it is. So basically, the more A's you get, the higher your number is. The higher your test score is, the higher your number is. If you have And you can go and Google academic index. Not Don't Google AI, because you get every AI out there. But if you do academic index, Ivy League, then you get that, and it'll show you roughly how it works, and it works the same for each each school. And that's kind of, instead of GPA, that's kind of the number we use in recruiting. So the higher your AI is, the more valuable of a recruit you are. And so and then, as a class, we have to bring in a certain AI, and every Ivy League has got a different number. And so one guy might work for one Ivy League school and might not work for another Ivy League school. And that's just part of it. So it's don't feel bad if one Ivy League, if can't take you, but another one can. And it doesn't mean that their AI is lower than the other one. It's just how it's working out in that class. And so the student body has an AI that they need to meet, and it's all part of that team.
So, we've talked a lot about recruiting at this point. So, I've maybe got some other questions for you, and just wanted to see, for you personally, how do you measure success? And then, what are some of your expectations for the team this coming year?
Measuring success, winning, and maybe that's, you hear a lot of coaches, they might dodge just saying winning. Um, but winning measures success when you're coaching. Like, it's now, if you're at a school that has the resources to win, and you're going to be measured on winning. But guess what? If you're in a school without the resources to win, you're going to be measured on winning. Um, and so winning is how you measure as a program. But it doesn't mean you win a ton. It's you can also be in the process of building winning, and it's not because you kept players for 3 years, and that does help. But it's hey, this year the team was good at this, and then they got a little bit better at this. Not that this team tried to do you know everything, and then the next year they still stunk at everything, and then they got a little bit better at one thing. No, they have a couple of things like that you really value to yourself as a program, as a coach, and you through the year you get better at that. And you might not be good at something else. That's okay, but you're really good at what you value. And are we really getting good at that we value each? And then at the end of the year, are we playing better than we were at the beginning of the year? And I think if you're trying to do so many things, it's going to be hard. And so I can't. I mean, the only way I can think of how you measure it at our level where we can recruit players and we can build is winning. And is it winning? And do you look like a winning program too? Like, and I'm not saying does everybody walk in a straight line and have their shirt tucked in perfect and all that. No, I mean, does the program carry themselves in an organized and a direction of high character individuals that are going to win? And sometimes a team in your league might, they're better than you a little bit that year. And so how do you get where you can beat that team at the end when it really counts? And you're working on that. And if you have the right individuals in your program that are that you've recruited, that you've nurtured, you've worked on their habits over and over and over, then you can beat that team at the end of the year. That on paper in the preseason they might have been picked. I hate the thing also though to get off that is oh man, don't you like to be picked low so you can no. I want to be picked first every year, and then I want to win league because that means we're doing the things in a consistent manner every single year to be picked there. Like your team, the Steelers, they're going to the playoffs every year. That's awesome, and that they're held at that standard to go to the playoffs. Now, you as a Steelers fan think they should win a Super Bowl. Well, guess what? They think so too.
I'd
But
settle
that's
for
that's
a playoff win this year.
well, it's coming, but you're there. And so I think that's that's where I look at is, are we building now? You're not in sports, you're not going to have the best, you're not going to win every year. I mean, I would love to, but it's not going to happen. And then even in when you have down years, how are you responding in a winning way? Are you able to make tough choices in a winning way? Are you able to, in a down year, or are you playing the guys that are really bought into winning, or are you just playing the guys that make you look good in that moment? Like let's have the guys with the girls, whatever you coaching are they really locked into doing things a way that is you like watching? And so that's probably evolved the most. And like you gotta put winners on the court if you want to win. And in order to win big, you got to have winners throughout your program and guys that are bought into whatever their talent is to help win. And that's coaches too. Like not every coach is the same, and not every coach has the same talents. But we've all bought into winning characteristics.
So, you know as well as I do that the life of a college coach comes with a lot of time spent on the road recruiting, just away from home. And I know you've already referenced it here, and we talked a little bit about things, with family being important to you. How do you find ways to schedule and protect that time with your family during what people assume is really a downtime? I know we talked about summer being, you know, a huge time to get out and see people playing, but that's also the same time that your family is off. So share a little bit about that with us.
Yeah, intentionality, I think, is the huge thing. And you can have like every coach can have systems in place. Hey, as soon as I get home from work, I put my phone down and I go and that can work for that person. I think, when you get a big recruit to call or a mom or something, you're trying to get something done. That coach that put their phone down, if that phone call happens 10 minutes later, they still pick up that phone. I promise you that. Because there's something that needs to be done with that recruit to get the job done that you were waiting for them to call all day. And then they finally found time because they got out of school and they got with their parents and they can call, and it's to set up a visit or to do something. You answer the phone call. Well, the same thing is if your wife calls, answer the phone call. Like it's even if you're in a meeting and it's you got to have a great wife, and I do, but they can't call every 30 minutes. If they call any way you can, and now when you're on court, when you're on the court, you don't answer calls. Like, and if you're once your wife is, they got to figure out once you're on the court, you just for the most part, is if you get through to me on the court, then we're going to the hospital.
Yeah.
That's the level
Sounds
of
right.
what we need to do. So, but the rest of the time, if you're in a gym recruiting and your wife calls, answer. If you have kids that have phones, and maybe your little kid has got mom's phone and they're calling. So answer, because at that moment, the best thing you can do to be engaged is you can't be at dinner, but you can answer that phone call. And if you have a bedtime routine with your kids when you're home, do you have a routine when you're on the road with them? And so for me, it's like I'm gonna call them at night. Like try to before bedtime, I'm calling them and just to hey, and FaceTime, the beauty of technology. In the morning, let's call. Like I would at home. And so I try to use technology to the best of my ability. And it's okay for us to, oh, you're talking to your family? Yeah, I'm talking to my family again. Because I'm on the road and I'm gonna talk to them maybe for 30 minutes. I'm FaceTime 4 different times. I'm gonna talk to them for 5 minutes. 6 times for 5 minutes. Yes, I'm going to do that. And because if I was at home, I'd get to at least 30 minutes of FaceTime with them. So that's not that much. And so that's what I intend. And then John Wooden had to don't confuse activities with accomplishments. And so I try not to if I'm at home or I'm not at the gym or and I'm with the family, I'm not just going to be doing activities that aren't directly impacting winning and recruiting at Princeton. And I'm going to be doing stuff with them the best I can. And sometimes they're going to have to watch me work, and they can't be part of it. And they walk in on Zoom calls and podcasts and stuff like that. But that's okay. What's the next thing? And then when you can never miss an activity if you can. Never choose to miss an activity, I guess should be it. If you can make an activity and have the gumption to, if you're not a head coach, and I've not been a head coach yet, have the gumption to tell your head coach, like, hey, practice is over. I know at 5. My son has a game that starts at 5:30. It's 45 minutes away. So I'm just letting you know when practice is over, I'm jetting out of here. I'm still going to be late to his game. And the head coach might say, hey, man, maybe we can end practice early. I'll see what I can do. Yeah, maybe that happens. And no other, and the other assistants don't know, the players don't know, but we had a great hour and 45-minute practice and everything was rolling. The head coach like, you know what? We can stop now. We've already done everything we need. And then Luke can get off to see his kid. And so be intentional in those moments. And it's not just sporting events, it's recitals, it's you might have, I mean, you might not have a kid that's good at that stuff or wants to do that stuff. It might be a simple activity of they like going to the park. And so when you get off, you go take them to the park, or they like to go they like to go to the theater, and you take them. Like, find out what your kid likes to do and do it with them. I think everybody's like, don't miss a game. I was like, not every kid plays games. Like, what do they do that they like? And it's okay as a coach. You don't have to have athletes. You don't have to have successful that people see them on a stage. They could be just really good at doing math, and you show up to the math bowl, and they don't even get in, and you clap. Like, it's okay. Like, it's great. But try to show up whenever you can, and then when on your road, use FaceTime. That's what I do. My wife goes on the road every once in a while to work, and she doesn't do it very often, and I won't hear from her for a long time. That's because she only goes on the road once or twice a month. It's okay. But yeah, that's what I would say, and that's what works for. That's what I try to do, is be very intentional with family when I can be, and then sometimes I got to be up late at night. They go to bed, I got to stay up and do a lot of work because I want to be there for bedtime and other things. And then sometimes, my wife knows she's got to step up at times, which she always is stepping up. But there's other times she's got to step up where I got so much, I'm getting run down. I can't stay up late. I got to work through bedtime. And that night, you got to communicate. It's like, I got a lot tonight if you can help. And then she does it.
So you've had a long, successful career building that different programs, developing players. And now you've even said you're at a place that's considered the pinnacle of academic and athletic success. So looking ahead, when your time at Princeton is done, what do you want your legacy to be? what do you hope people say about the impact that you've had on this program? And then more importantly, the lives of the players that you've coached here.
I'm not an I person. I don't think I never want to be. If it comes away that people that know Princeton is like, hey, here's a good steward something bigger than themselves. I think at Valpo, I don't. I was just a I was just somebody trying to do the best I can, and I wanted Valpo to be the best they can. And I'm saying Valpo because me and Ryan worked together at Valpo, so um, and I was there for a long time. So it's like it's not about me. Like I don't want anything to be, but man, our what we are about is really good because Luke was in there helping. So and so at Princeton, I just when he was here, we won, and you could rely on him, whether you're a basketball player or you're a facilities person, or if you're the AD, you can rely on him to step up, to show up, and to help. I want to I want to be reliable. I want to be honest and reliable. Sometimes my honesty is a little too honest at times, I think, but that's what I want to be known for. He was loyal to the job he was in when he was there all the time, and that's something else. And then with players, I would like them to think is like, in my time, I've coached over 100, over 100 players, and I would like them all to know that it can be 3, 4, 5 years, and if they need to talk, they can call. That's it. I don't need them to have to call me every week to stay. If they want to, great. If they're in the coaching business, in which there's quite a few, and I get calls from them all the time, and I call them for help and advice. But that you know, coach is available, and he doesn't need you to. He's not going to feel bad if he doesn't hear from you for a while, and I don't need him to call me, even because I know he's there for me, even when we don't talk. And I think that's I thought it for a while. Hey, this coach hadn't called me. Well, I hadn't called that coach. Like that's on me. Like I was the player. I only had one coach that year. Like, if I want to call him, I should call him. And so I think that's would be, the things that would, I guess, legacy, I guess. Yeah. So I would say that somebody, we've talked about it, like everything we've talked about. I want people to know me that I was a great husband. I loved my Lord and loved my kids, but boy, he really did his job and he really helped others. And if he was the guy that would step up, if he was going by the track team, they're loading the bus, and Coach Gore's helping load the bus, even though it wasn't his team. He's just there to help and be part of the team, which is the university team, the community team. I'm not big on putting a big L on my chest and saying it's all about me. Like that's not my way.
It sounds like show up, be real, work hard, have fun is what you're really all about. So Luke, thank you so much for taking the time today, man. I really appreciate it. I wish you nothing but success at Princeton this year and in the future. Folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks again, Coach Luke Gore from Princeton Basketball. You can join us next time when we talk with Coach Maravich of Valpo Women's Soccer. So long, everybody.
Thanks, Ron.
Thank you.